Hello, everyone. We are going to share about livestock dehorning. There are two methods of dehorning. They are disbudding and mechanical dehorning.
Disbudding has two methods, which is caustic paste and hot iron. Disbudding can only use in calves under 2 months of age before the horn attached to the skull. Mechanical dehorning can be done at any stage of development.
It is up to individual procedures to decide if dehorning makes sense in their herd. If herds are kept in a large area, graze all year and not crowded during handling, dehorning may be not necessary. If the bull are more intensively herd, dehorning may have advantages listed.
Stress and pain caused to the animal during and after procedure. Second, reduce weight gain for several weeks after dehorning. Third, risk of infection in the skull sinuses, holes left behind when horns are removed from larger animals. Fourth, risk of excessive bleeding. Fifth, reduced ability to protect themselves from predator. Sixth, destruction of natural look of bison. Seventh, increased holding time in the squeeze. Some procedures feel that this will cause excessive stress and occasionally death in bison.
There are several advantages of dehorning animal. The first one, it will reduce the risk of injury. A horned animal can harm both people and other members of the herd. So by dehorning, it will produce docile cattle. Besides that, it requires less feeding trough space. Horned animals are prone to getting stuck in feeders, stalls, fences, and other tight spots. Next, the benefit of dehorning animal is it can value again. Moreover, dehorning animals can cause less injuries due to bruising. Lastly is health considerations. Dehorning animal can decrease risk of death, illness, and setback by dehorning young calf versus older calf.
Suggestion in help manage the bleeding dehorning. Wound typically recover with no care, although there is a chance of complications such as spontaneous bleeding, fly exposure, and bacterial infection. First, calf need observation for bleeding for 30 to 60 minutes after dehorning. Second, coagulant-like blood, stop powder, tourniquets, clamps, or hot iron coagulation can help to reduce blood loss. Third, a fly repellent is recommended and produced can monitor for signs of infection for 10 to 14 days after dehorning. Fourth, we suggest developing a sedation and pain management protocol with your local veterinarian for extra-label use of drugs on calf for disbudding on your dairy farm. A veterinarian must prescribe any extra-label of use drugs. 6. Removing horn bark from a calf is much easier and less painful than removing the horn after it attached to the skull. 7. Disbud calf before 2 days of age with paste or calf 1 to 6 weeks old with a hot iron disbudder.
Today we're going to be looking at the correct method of disbudding calves with handling, application of anaesthetic, analgesia and effective removal of the growth tissue around the bud. So here we've backed the calf up into the corner against the hutch there, and we're just going to manipulate his head around like this. So we first feel for the bud to check that there's a bud there. Some animals are of course polled, so yeah, there's a couple of buds there of good size, so we know that we're able to disbud this calf. So now we're going to give this calf some analgesia, some anti-inflammatories before we start disbudding, so it gets a chance to work. So that was a simple subcutaneous injection, just tenting the skin behind the shoulder. So now we're going to give the local anaesthetic. So the landmarks we'd be looking for here is between the base of the ear and the corner of the eye. There's a ridge of bone just running along the skull here, and below that there's a slight depression, and we're just injecting under there, just under the skin, round about ½ centimetre in. So after we've administered the anaesthetic, we want to be really waiting a minimum of about 5 minutes for it to work. So now we're just going to feel for the bud again, and now we're going to apply the iron directly over the bud, keep it there for 2 to 3 seconds, and then we're going to rotate it 360 degrees round the base of the bud to burn all of the growth tissue there. At certain times of the year you might want to put some fly repellent on the animal to stop any flies getting on there. With this budding there's a very low risk of any infection to the bud, but if you monitor them for 24-48 hours, and then they should be absolutely fine after that.
Materials of disbudding and dehorning. Caustic-based disbudding is the combination of caustic substances in dehorning paste, cauterized tissue, and prevents horn growth. Dehorning paste is applied to the horn buds of calf 8 weeks of age or younger. Second, hot iron disbudding. An iron is heated to red hot, then held firmly to the horn bud for about 20 seconds. It will destroying the horn producing cells and preventing further growth. Knife dehorning. In this dehorning method, a knife is used to cut away skin around and under the horn bud, surgically removing the horn from the base tissue. After that, tube, cut or spoon dehorning. A circular blade is pushed into the skin around the horn bud, then rotated and tilted to gouge out the horn. After that, Barnes dehorner. A hinge, closed set or sharp scoops which is placed over the horn against the base and surrounding skin. Opening handles force the cutting edges together, slicing through the skin and under the horn. Keystone and guillotine. Keystone dehorner has two handles that move a blade downward against a plate or another blade. It will slicing through the base of the horn and the surrounding skin. After that, obstetrical or embryotomy wire. It is a long piece of wire is attached to handle, then moved back and forth rapidly to saw through the horn base plus a ½ inch circle of skin. Lastly, hand saw. In this method of dehorning, a hand saw is used to remove the horn along with a ½ inch ring of skin around the horn base.